The Leopard 2, one of the best main battle tanks in the world. It optimally combines armor, firepower, and mobility. The modern tank was born over 100 years ago. Barbed wire coils marked the front line on the battlefields of the First World War. Machine guns mowed down everything that moved. Soldiers were dying by the millions. In 1916, the British unexpectedly sent a completely new weapon into battle: the tank. With conventional weapons, the Germans had no chance against these track-driven steel monsters. They responded with their own quickly developed combat vehicle, the A7V. In the Second World War, Germany's newly established tank force then conquered vast areas of Europe. Ever more powerful types were produced. The Panther and Tiger were intended to help the Wehrmacht emerge victorious over the Soviet Union. The 188-ton Colossus, christened the Mouse, was proof of Hitler's megalomania. 10 years after the end of the war, Germany started to rearm and created the latest generation of main battle tanks, the Leopard. Firepower and mobility are determining factors in battle. In these disciplines, tanks made in Germany are among the most dangerous and effective weapons in the world. 100 years ago, and also today. "6:30 in the morning. The 33rd Tank Battalion is relocating to Firing Range 1 Alpha at the Bergen Troop Training Area in the Lüneburg Heath. Various troop and weapons categories are preparing for a combined forces firing exercise. The German Army soldiers will practice their combat strength here. The battlefield is dominated by the heavy main battle tanks. The German Tank Corps' main weapons system is the Leopard 2. It's one of the most effective main battle tanks in the world. The Leopard 2 was introduced in 1979. Continuously modernized, what is currently the latest version bears the name Leopard 2 A7V. The Leopard 2 is a heavy main battle tank with a 4-man crew. The 62-ton tank is powered by a liquid-cooled 12-cylinder diesel engine with an output of 1,500 horsepower. It has a top speed of 72 kilometers per hour. On the road, it has a range of 500 kilometers with 1 tank of fuel. Its main weapon is the 120mm smooth-bore gun from Rheinmetall for fin-stabilized projectiles. The Leopard 2 is protected by multi-layer composite armor. The commander sits on the right in the turret. The gunner is located in the front. The loader is seated on the left-hand side in the turret. He loads the pre-selected type of ammunition. The driver's station is the only one in the hull. It's located at the front right. The weapon system is stabilized. Uneven terrain is compensated for instantaneously, ensuring that the gun always remains aimed at the target.
We use the Leopard 2A5, A6, A6M and Leopard 2A7 variants. The differences from the Leopard 2A5 to the A6 are firstly the extended gun, and the Leopard 2A7 has a combat compartment cooling system which is ultimately similar to the air conditioning system in a car, and a generator is also installed. When you're in position, that allows you to switch off the engine and let the generator run, which makes reconnaissance difficult for the enemy.
The tank was first presented to the public in 1977 as the successor to the Leopard 1.
Invitation for a ride on the Leopard. The new generation is ready. Leo 2, the best there's ever been. And according to the experts, the best main battle tank of all. The 18 prototypes were tested under the hardest of conditions. They drove 95,000 kilometers and fired 11,000 shots. They braved the Canadian winter and withstood the baking hot deserts of Arizona. The combat compartment is designed so that the crew can also spend longer periods inside it under battle conditions, including NBC protection. Every crew member has their workplace, the gunner in front of the main sight, the commander in front of his panoramic telescope, division of labor and teamwork at the same time, a symbiosis of humans and equipment.
At the height of the Cold War, the German Tank Corps had 2,125 Leopard 2 tanks. At present, there are still around 325. When the combined forces go into battle, different troop categories of the German armed forces cooperate with each other. They support the Leopard during the fighting.
We don't fight alone. In principle, we usually fight in combination with grenadiers and sappers, especially when we're reconnoitering mine barriers so that the grenadiers lay mine barriers or throw up the cordon. The sappers open the mine barriers and we then continue the attack at speed.
The Leopard 2 is capable of maneuvering up to a depth of 4 meters underwater. To increase its combat value, an extended gun and modernized fire control system are fitted from version A6 onwards. This significantly increases the tank's range and accuracy. In combination with the automatic turret drive system, this gives the Leopard 2 a first round hit probability of 98%. A German armed forces film from 1986 presented the new tank's modern weapons technology to the public, based on a very impressive example. A tank is equipped with a laser aiming device that can measure distances of up to 10 kilometers, accurate to 10 meters. Depending on visibility, this enables the Leopard 2 to reliably engage targets located up to 5 kilometers away.
Tank fire. Locked on. Loaded. Fire.
The main weapon on the Leopard 2 is its 120mm smoothbore gun from Rheinmetall. 2 types of ammunition are used: a high explosive round and an armor-piercing round. The tungsten dart has a diameter of 38mm. Tank expert Wolfgang Schneider demonstrates its function.
The armor-piercing round, the kinetic energy penetrator for combating armored targets, is now in there, is encompassed by 3 carriers, fired, and flies off. Then it hits the enemy target at high speed and should penetrate it if possible, of course. The speeds for this gun are around 1,600 meters per second.
A kinetic energy penetrator like this uses the kinetic energy of its projectile to penetrate the surface of the target. This is why an explosive is not necessary in the round itself. In military circles, the term for this type of kinetic energy penetrator is KE round. It's used exclusively for armor-piercing military applications. Each round costs approximately 10,000 euros. Tanks have been around for over 100 years. These steel behemoths transformed the way wars have been waged ever since. The First World War began in 1914 as a war of movement. Germany marched into France through the neutral countries of Belgium and Luxembourg. However, the advance ended at the River Marne. Due to the industrialization of the war, involving the mass use of artillery and machine guns, the war of movement turned into trench warfare. Advancing on foot, the infantry dug itself in as protection against the hail of steel, and the fronts became entrenched. To achieve any kind of victory, the enemy had to be driven out of their trenches, and the opposing lines smashed apart. One particularly perfidious attempt to achieve this involved the use of gas. On April 22, 1915, Germany used this weapon of mass destruction for the first time. However, not even this gruesome weapon led to any tactical or strategic advantage. Aircraft were able to advance behind the enemy's front lines, but the air forces were still in their infancy and failed to have any decisive impact on the course of the war.